people that play this game, they got the nerve to get mad. You guys fucking suck. Like, bro, you picked Vygar top in a Teemo jungle. What else are we supposed to do?
In ranked? Is that in ranked?
Yes, they did that in ranked.
No,
that's why I
that's
couldn't leave.
That's troll
Yeah,
picks,
I
bro.
reported both of them, and I reported both of them in Champ Select because that was like some bullshit. I was just like, all right, yeah, because the Teemo hovered Mordekaiser, and he had him hovered for a while, and then other dude locked in Master Yi, and then he locked in Teemo, and I'm like, why the fuck would you lock in Master or Teemo against Master Yi? And yeah, he just it was just a really bad game. So, oh well, it is what
Is
it
the
is.
patch out? Patches out?
Yeah, I was testing Kendra in the fucking practice tool, and man, her buffs, just her slight buffs with the Rage Blade, it's fucking crazy, man. I'm about to go crazy with her.
You know we're playing tonight, boy.
Yeah, man.
Oh shit, I'm excited. I want to try. I need to figure out a Varus hybrid build like ASAP because there's just so many hybrid items now for ADCs, and I kind of I love it. I love the idea of it at least. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I think this was like Riot's way of addressing the tank meta without addressing it, because obviously if you ask anybody, there isn't a tank meta. But low elo, obviously there is a huge tank meta, which is the fucking Heartsteel. I think this was their way of addressing that shit, because there's no way to kind of itemize against like these hybrid items that you have. Like Kraken Slayer does, instead of doing true damage, it does bonus magic damage every third shot.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Static Shield does bonus magic damage and everything. So
yeah, it makes sense because like you said, you can't itemize for both magic and physical at the same time. You know, necessarily, like generally speaking, on most characters. So you're going to take a lot of damage from one or the other.
yeah,
you know. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think the problem is still going to be
the HP stacking.
yeah. Because mitigation hasn't really been the issue. You know, I don't.
Yeah.
That's the thing that they're not addressing here. Is like, to be frank, I've been able to shred tanks as an ADC, whether they stack my stat or not, like against my statistics or not. I still am able to shred them. So, it's more about the HP. It's like, dude, when a guy has 9,000 HP, I don't give a shit what mitigation they go for. They could fucking be a glass cannon with that much HP, you know?
Yeah.
Like you're a fucking tank, dude. It's like you can only do so much damage per second as any character. So, yeah, I don't know. It's we'll see how it plays out. I mean, I just like it in general because it's going to spice the game up. I'm going to have more options available to me as an ADC, I think.
Yeah.
On specific characters. So I
think it just helps the whole environment in general, because like now, ADCs have a lot more options, and they can be actual. Because when you're going to get squishies or somebody who's not super tanky, that like they're the main tank, but you can 1v1 them. I seen you do it. But like,
baby.
Yeah.
I was doing it yesterday, man. It was like the one game I played with you guys.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's yeah.
And when we're going against, but when we get to like 30 minutes and then we have a Cho'Gath or a Mundo who has 10,000 health, like none of us can 1v1 them because the other team not instantly deletes us, but we have to like kind of maneuver around them to get to the other team. And they do so much damage that, you know, it's not like we can ignore him, you know, or ignore those champions. So I don't know. I think like the lethality items, like when I'm playing my assassin characters and stuff like that, and the buffs to like mage or support items in particular, when I'm like down in support, like it's going to be really helpful. I can give extra damage to the team, be a lot more useful in team fights and stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, it's a good shakeup. This should have been the preseason buff or the preseason update.
Weird,
but they did it mid-season for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, because like nothing changed when the season started. Like the meta barely shifted.
Everything that we were complaining about, we complained about in preseason, and only thing they did was kind of tweak some of the numbers of Heartsteel. But that's like the major thing, and I think it was another item they kind of tweaked as well because Zach was going really crazy. I think they just nerfed Zach outright. I remember him going crazy in preseason, but Heartsteel is still like just a thing or whatever. And all these items, like a lot of people were complaining. I'm like, are you going to change these items? And then the jungle, I remember when before they nerfed the jungle or changed the jungle again, like you remember people were people were literally just standing in a bush all the time
Oh
for
my
bot
god,
lane.
it would happen to
And
Jet all the time too, man.
yeah,
He'd be like, "Dude, I can see you. I can see you." Does he not understand that I can see him? Like, and he stands
yeah,
there for like 2 minutes. Yeah,
yeah, and I was looking at the meta, and that was the meta for jungle. It was like either you stand and just constantly gank over and over again, bot or mid. Like that's what you do. You don't get camps anymore, and it was just a terrible meta. That's why I didn't want to jungle anymore because I was like, this is I don't know what jungling is now, but it is not the jungle I grew up with. But I don't know. I think the shit that they're doing right now is really good. And then they say if this doesn't work, they're gonna remove mythics altogether, which I'm kind of hoping this doesn't work because I really just want to go back to the old way of
yeah.
like
I kind of agree
itemization.
with that too, man. I when I started playing again, the idea of mythics, like is a cool concept, but in practice, I do not think it works that well because I think it hedges you into specific item builds.
Yeah,
And I don't like that as somebody who wants to have diverse builds because the last patch, the one before this one, I had gotten to a certain point where I just kind of built the same thing in the same order every game with certain characters,
yeah,
because it was effective. I very rarely would change it up unless something really drastic was going on to make me do that. Like I needed like Grievous or something or fucking HP shred. Um, so yeah, like with Varus, the build was just becoming crit, man. Like you go
yeah. You go crit or
bow,
you go fucking AP
yeah,
virus or whatever.
bow, Infinity Edge. I started going Ghost Dancer. Is that the double bladed item
Uh,
that gives you like move speed?
uh,
Um,
Yuma's Ghost Blade.
no, not that one. The
Oh,
one
you
the
talking
one
about
that
Phantom
the one that
Dancer?
yeah,
Phantom
Phantom
Dancer.
Dancer, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That one, and then I would go like Bloodthirster and Dominic's probably if there were enough people with more HP than me in the game. And
Okay.
that was my build. So when I got full build, I mean that's why I was shredding people, you know. Like cuz Dominic's is such a ridiculous item, I think. That item is such a fucking crazy good item for ADCs because if somebody has one more HP than you do 25% more damage to them, and honestly, it works on squishies and often the ADC is one of the lowest HP people in the game because they don't take a single item that gives them HP, you know.
Yeah.
So it almost works on everyone every game by the end of the game. And yeah, that's why you see me tear teams up sometimes because it's like I have that thing and I'm attacking like fucking two or three times a second, and I'm critting on every strike. It's like you're dead in a second or two. It's like
Yeah.
so yeah, but now it'll be different now. I mean, Dominic's did get a buff. Actually, because now it enhances magic damage and not just physical. So that is going to be a really interesting change, certainly. And it's honestly it's leaning into the hybrid build idea for them, because a lot of ADC items now were either converted to partial magic damage or give you magic damage on hit, or they have a passive that does magic damage in some way.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of magic damage going around with ADCs now. Suddenly, it's going to be kind of an interesting thing to play around with. So I'm excited to play. Hopefully tonight when we're done here.
Yeah. We should get
Um,
tonight.
yeah. All right, Montrell. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show. This is the Players Take, episode 221. I'm your host Justin DeSimone, joined as always by my co-host Montrell Rice. I'm just gonna get in the rigmarole and we'll jump right in here. We posted 6 a.m. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us questions, you can do so on Twitter at The Players Take, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. And yeah, I'm just tired today. I've been awake since 6:25 this morning, so I am fucking I'm feeling it right now, people. So
Really
um
feeling it.
I'm really feeling it. It's wine time. The Monado. yeah, so we're probably gonna have a nice pithy show today, and we'll go play some league, and then we're gonna scream about it next week when we realize how unbalanced everything is. So, um, all right, Montreal. Outside of league, how is life treating you?
It's okay. It's just I knew this was going to happen with my job and stuff like that. Where beginning of the year is usually super busy, but this year it was not busy at all. And then during the summertime, everything just started coming up together, and that's exactly what
Mm,
happened. So um, for the last week and a half, I've been like super busy. So and I'm going to be busy for the next couple of weeks. Um,
yeah,
and on
yeah.
top of that, next month, so I'm trying. Me and Deanna are trying to get the house together and everything like that. Like I'm trying. I have to get a new gun case and everything to put my guns up and everything. Because I have a gun case, or I have locks on my guns separately.
Yeah.
But I'm getting the gun case so I can store all my ammo and stuff like that because I'm having people come over and visit us. So my friend Kenya and her husband, they're coming from Austin to visit us to congratulate us on the wedding and stuff like that. And then well before that, my parents are coming next month because my mom really wants to see Transformers with me. So her and my dad are flying up here or down here rather, to see Transformers with me, and we're gonna hang out, and have both sides of the family finally meet each other for the first time. And then two
That'll be
weeks
fun.
after that, then my friend Kenny is coming from Austin to also take us out, for the congratulations and everything like
Hmm.
that. So uh, it's it's been pretty busy. Like it's been real busy. So
Yeah.
around here.
Same for me. Barely I've not played nearly as much as I would like this past week. I've been waking up early all week and going to sleep super early. So um, there were layoffs at my job, so been dealing with
Yeah.
that. I'm fine, but I'm in a position where I have to process a lot of those people. So been a very busy week for me. So as well. So all right. Well, why don't we go into what we've been playing? I know we both just said we're not playing that much, but Montreal, what I mean, is it mostly just been Apex and League for you?
Yeah, I actually haven't touched a single player game. I made the conscious decision to shelve Jedi Survivor. Like I said yesterday to you, I'm not going to do a whole song and dance on it. It's a good game, but
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's just a good game. 7.58 for me.
yeah.
Um, it doesn't do anything spectacular, but it doesn't do anything wrong either. It's just meh for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I can finish this anytime. Like that's how I feel. Like I don't feel like the story is enough for me to be urgent enough for me to finish it to know what's going to happen next. Cause I kind of understand what's going to happen. And it's in between a weird timeline in Star Wars franchise to where that character's impact is not going to affect anything going forward in the franchise, in my opinion. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so, um, yeah, he's just going to get lost in the stories, unfortunately. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so Uh, I'm shelving that, and yeah, I just been playing Apex. Apex has been feeling a lot better. Me, Brad, and Jet have been playing. We won a game. We got a couple second places yesterday, a couple third places,
Mm-hmm.
and we ended off on a win. So that was and before we jumped into league last night.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been feeling pretty good. I will say the quality of the matches have improved. I think those first couple of weeks you just had to let all the fucking sweats and Smurfs surpass us, and now
Yeah.
we're in a good spot to where we're facing people at our actual level.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're still
Yeah.
running into a couple of Twitch losers, but it's like we're beating them now. And I don't know if that's because we gotten better or the matchmaking's gotten better. Um, I think it's a little bit of both. To be honest, we've been throwing the gauntlet with these fucking masters and triple preds and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
now we know how to. I can wall jump now without even thinking about it. Like it's really fucking cool.
Man, you gotta
In
teach me
mid
how to do
fight.
it, man.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. But I can do it mid fight now. Yeah, I just been using a lot of verticality and everything like that. So, um,
I've never been able to figure it out.
yeah, and I think I want to say in this patch they kind of made it easier to do. I don't know why, but because it's in the trailer, so I think they made it easier for people to do it. It's there if you want to learn how to do it, I guess. Um, But yeah, I
Well,
even saw
because your
like
character climbs a wall if you hold down spacebar, right?
yeah.
So is that the idea? You're holding down spacebar for a second and then you kind of like
So I
jump
don't know what
off.
it is on the PC. It should be easier on PC. But for me, like as soon as you touch the wall, you jump off of it. Like as soon as you touch it, so you have to kind
So
of
you
know
do you
your
press the
timing.
button again?
Yeah, you press the button again.
Okay.
So as soon as you jump on it, you jump off. You press it again and you jump off or whatever.
Okay. So you're
Um,
not holding onto the wall at all. You just try to jump off, literally. Like there, it's
yeah,
actually that's weird that that's actually a mechanic.
yeah. So like for me, it's easier to do it when you slide and jump into the wall. You know how you do slide jumps to run faster.
Mm-hmm.
When you slide jump into the wall, you can instantly. It's harder to do it when you're just running to the wall and jumping. It's easier for me when I slide jump into the wall and I bounce off. I don't know why, but it's way easier for me when I do that. Um, Yeah, I also learned how to do like something called ghost strafing, to where I can on the controller. You know, on PC y'all have tab strafing, which I suggest that you guys highly use. It's actually easy to do. But I use ghost strafing, where I can turn instantly in a fight. Like when I'm running, I'm sliding, I can turn instantly and do almost like a 180 turn and fire really quickly, and then do another 180 turn and fire and go back. Um, because I was doing it a couple of days. I was doing it yesterday in a couple of fights, and I actually won a couple of team fights like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I mean the game is forcing me to just like get fucking
I
better, and
know.
I
Yeah,
am.
Montrell's so sweaty. This is sweaty.
Yeah, I'm
He's
fucking
he's being
sweaty now,
sweaty.
bro. Like
Yeah, man.
it's
Taps. You
such
talking about tap strafing and
yeah,
wall
it's just
jumping? Like what?
disgusting. I know. I want to fucking punch
What the
myself in the face when I just
fuck?
said that shit.
What
Yeah,
the fuck, man?
yeah, man. Like I don't know. It's and it, And I mean, it's satisfying when you do it in fights and stuff like that. It's easier for me to track opponents and everything. I don't know. I just think because of that, the gauntlet that we had for the last fucking 6 or 7 seasons. Now that we're going against people our actual skill level, I feel like the sweat when I'm going against them now. Um, yeah, it's just because it was multiple times when me, Jet, and Brad have just like we probably been down and we've won 2v1s because
Mm-hmm.
we're just so sweaty now. Like it's actually insane.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. But League, uh, as far as rank goes, this is my actual first loss today. But I've been winning my rank games. I'm like silver two. I climbed from silver four to silver two in like one day.
Wow.
So I've been winning my rank games. It's only when I'm playing like norms with y'all, it gets like super fucking sweaty. I don't know what it is.
Hmm.
Um, and I think because y'all played with Dylan
Well,
the
yeah,
other
our
day.
matchmaking was fucked for like two
Yeah.
days because of him.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
just
yeah, but we already talked about earlier like league and the changes and everything like that. So I'm glad that happened. Another thing interesting happened, not related to games I'm playing, but I think I mentioned that Deanna beat the game, or I thought she got really close to the game and didn't beat it. For Breath of the Wild, she told me she beat the game. She's like, I completed the game. I didn't do 100% completion, but I beat the 4 divine beast, and I beat whatever the fuck his name is. I was
yeah.
like, Ganondorf. She's like, yeah, that guy, the orange haired dude. I was like, yeah, all right, cool. So she was like, "When are you going to buy Tears of the Kingdom for me?" And I'm like, "Wait, you want me to buy that?" And she's like, "Yeah, I really want to play Tears of the Kingdom." So now I have to go buy Tears of the Kingdom. It's not even a choice anymore. So I have to buy it.
Okay.
And she wants some new Joy Cons because those are drifting. So
Oh no, God,
yeah,
Nintendo, fucking
I've been
Nintendo,
dealing with
bro.
it for like the last year or year and a half. But she's like, why don't you send it to Nintendo? I'm like, cause I don't fucking feel like it takes like 3 months to get back or whatever. She's like, cause I read an article saying that they got sued for that and now they have to do it. I'm like, yeah, that's true, but the way they get around that is by taking fucking forever to fucking do it.
Making the
So
process horrific. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm gonna actually tomorrow I'm gonna go out and buy some new Joy Cons and buy Tears of the Kingdom and so she can play it and I'll have fun with that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I was thinking about buying her own Switch, but she doesn't play the Switch enough for me to justify a new purchase of a Switch Lite or anything like that.
It's only gonna happen when you decide you want to play something on there at the same time.
Yeah, because I actually was like thinking like maybe I should just play Breath of the Wild right now, finish that, and then get Tears of the Kingdom. But now she wants to play Tears of the Kingdom, so
Mm-hmm.
uh yeah, you know how that goes. But yeah, that's pretty much it though.
Fair enough. Well, yeah. I mean, I haven't. I've just been playing League, and then Honkai, Star Rail. I completed all the story up to this point in the game over the weekend, and then I've got like I don't know 5 or 6 missions left to do that I need to go do. I'm probably gonna do those this weekend if I have time. I just want to clear it out basically and get to the point where I'm basically just kind of grinding the progression mountain at this point. Which is definitely getting steeper. I hit Equilibrium 3 over the weekend, and yeah, leveling my characters is starting to take a while. This is Hoyo versus thing, right? The early game is really easy, not easy but really fast. Like you level quickly and you get a lot of resources, obviously. And now I'm hitting that point in the game where leveling characters is starting to become a real investment in time and resources. So which is fine. I don't have a problem with it, but I mean the same thing. It's basically the same as Genshin in that regard. It seems pretty similar in most ways with the progression systems. So not a big issue there, but yeah, the story ends in the middle of an arc, so there's not much really to say about it. I don't really know what the conclusion is. I will say they did set up some cool stuff for the main character potentially in the
Okay.
future. There's some really interesting factions at play, like similar to Genshin. The political intrigue going on in this universe is certainly interesting. I will say this second, or I guess technically third area that you go to is probably my least favorite of them so far. As it's kind of weird to say because it's a cool concept. Like you're actually on a ship, and it's like a city, essentially in space. It has like a whole civilization living in it, essentially. But I just don't like the way it looks. Mostly, it's I don't know. It just doesn't appeal to me that much. But um, it's still cool. The area is still cool though, and the story is certainly interesting for sure. There's some interesting characters there. So continue to play it. This game though has taken off in a way Genshin did as well. It is making money hand over fucking fist. It made 40 million in its first week. With yeah, which Jesus, dude, like that is a lot of money in a week. If you extrapolate that out, if they were to keep up that pace over the course of a entire calendar year, I believe they would be making over $2 billion. So um, that would be a lot of money in one year for a brand new game. Genshin didn't make quite that much in its first year, so I'll certainly be paying attention to this and watching. Um, you know how they do. But I honestly, I gotta just say, Hoyoverse at this point has really created this like system or formula for these games. They just have this like really addictive quality to them because you kind of feel like you're constantly progressing a lot of the time. As long as you don't play too much. If you There's some streamers out there that are actually complaining that they've like run out of content and there's nothing to do. And of course, you've run out of content and there's nothing to do. You're playing the game every day for 8 hours a day. It's like, no game has that much content at launch.
Well, I mean,
But
that's what we talked about with the sweats last week, right? Like
yeah,
that's
right,
sweaty.
yeah.
I feel like that kind of stuff is putting a hamper on developers and stuff like that. But yeah, continue.
Well, and the fun people have with the game because these people, they kind of shape the conversations that happen around it.
Yes,
So
100%.
it's yeah, and then the players start to parrot this stuff, and they're like, "Oh, there's no content in Hardcore Star Rail. What the fuck, bro? We're not getting an event until for 3 weeks. Blah blah blah." It's like, dude, you didn't have to blow through the entire game in 3 weeks. Like, you don't have to play it like that. There are thousands of video games for you to go play out there. Go do something else. Like, go like maybe one day fucking don't do your dailies. Don't even log into Honkai. Go play something else for a fucking day and like let the game sit. I mean, it's not going anywhere. This shit's gonna be running for fucking years. So yeah, I just don't understand the mentality with some players with this stuff. Like, I mean, I get streamers like that, the game's hot, they want to play it, it's driving, a lot of views and stuff. But at the same time, it's like to play the game that obsessively and then complain that there's nothing to do is just insane to me. Um,
Yeah, yeah. It's just I don't know. I think it's weird. I think because like the same. I'll let you finish, but the same thing is happening in Apex. But I'll let you finish as well.
No, go
Keep
ahead. I
going.
was done. I was pretty much done.
No, I'm sorry. Keep going.
I really didn't have much else to say about it.
Oh, okay.
So go ahead. I'll
Um,
jump off whatever your point is.
yeah, like I don't know. I think like streamers are shaping the conversations and like pros, but like fortunately rather, there's no pro scene in Genshin, or maybe there is. I don't fucking know. I don't
I
even know
wouldn't
how you
call it
will
a
have a pro.
pro scene. There is a hardcore mathematical community that figures out the numbers in these games and
Mm-hmm.
tells you exactly what is optimal in terms of team building, damage, what artifacts to use, what weapons to use, all that stuff. They figure these games out down to a T, and what's best and what isn't. And it's definitely damaging, I think, to the game in some ways because it creates this environment where there are certain characters and weapons that are highly desirable because of how powerful they are, and pushes the game into this pay to win conversation suddenly, that it really isn't a pay to win game. Like, I don't think Genshin is pay to win at all, to be frank. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
they've done a really good job making sure that isn't the case. And so far, I feel like Honkai Star Rail is similar. However, it is harder for them to not make the game pay to win by the nature of what it is. This is a turn based RPG, it is not an action game.
Yeah.
So there isn't as much skill in player expression in terms of how you play the game. It is strictly, sometimes it is a strictly number based game. You do not have the numbers on your characters, like the statistics, to push through the content you are doing. So when you get a character that inherently has more stats, it's going to make the game easier, in a lot of ways. So I think this game is going to struggle a little bit more with that pay to win conversation by the nature of what it is. And I don't think that's a problem right now because nobody's really in the super hardcore end game yet. But when we all get there, I think there will be a different conversation around this game, depending on their approach to releasing characters. Because what I've seen so far is some of the 5 stars just straight up outclass some of the 4 stars that are like very similar to them, and it and get while that is true in Genshin as well to some degree, the way the game is made and the way abilities work and the way the elemental reaction system works in that game is that every character basically has some kind of niche. Some of the niches are terrible and really bad and they're just not good at all. But there are a lot of 4 stars in Genshin Impact that are really fucking effective characters. And it's because of the way that game works. I think Honkai is going to struggle with that a little bit more. So,
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, but that's the thing. Like, I guess I'm trying to think, right? Like back when in the '90s and early 2000s, when like the internet really wasn't a thing. It was a thing, but only a select few people had it. Like maybe like the upper class and higher middle class people had internet to where they would go on forums and stuff like that and talk about these small games, have these little small communities and stuff like that. It was kind of reserved to like, mail in, to the Game Informer, and then they talk about, what mailed in or whatever, and you had to wait
mhm,
till next month or whatever to kind of get a reply or whatever.
yeah.
Like forums and stuff like that, they weren't really, big for these hardcore communities. So I'm actually glad that there are communities out there for like these hardcore people who know these numbers and stuff like that, because
Mhm,
it is very appreciative to, to us normal people who want to look up this shit and be like, I wonder if there's an easier way to do this. Now that being said, sometime like me being like maybe when I was younger, I would like want the easy way out or whatever, or I don't know. It's just now that I'm just like an experienced or seasoned gamer. I wouldn't say experienced, I'd say seasoned. I'm a seasoned gamer at this point. Like I want to kind of experience stuff for myself or whatever the case may be.
yeah.
And yeah, like I don't like this hardcore mentality of like people blowing through content. I mean, like when WoW came out for the first time, there were people it took weeks or months, whatever, to beat the first fucking raid or whatever the case may be. Now people are
Mhm,
beating raids in like, fucking 2 hours after it comes out or whatever, and they're streaming it and showing the most optimal path to do it. And it's just like what happened to just having fun and like beating the fucking raid? And it's
yeah.
like that shit's not fun anymore. And then it's getting so bad to where like Apex, right, when we had like aim assist or in the controller and everything like that, pros are like, oh, it's so fucking bad aim assist and everything like that. And it's like, yeah, it's one of those things just the opposite of League. It's like Heart still is not broken high elo, but it's broken in low elo. It's like aim assist is not broken in like low elo fucking Apex, where 90% of the player base is at,
Yeah.
but it's broken in like the higher echelons of Apex. And like they're gonna nerf it. Like they're actually in talks like nerfing the aim assist because of what the pros are saying. And it's like these are like the top 0.5% of the player base,
Hmm.
like the top 2,000 players or whatever.
Yeah.
They, no matter what controller scheme they have, they're going to be the best at that. And I respect them for that. But
Yeah.
companies just need to learn this balance between like listening to like pros and then not listening to pros, or listening to streamers and not listening to streamers. And unfortunately, like the environment we're in right now, like everybody is just like trying to be that streamer guy. Everybody wants to be that ninja and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
even for single player games where you're streaming or whatever, like, say if Xenoblade 4 came out tomorrow, uh people like, oh, this is the best fucking optimal path to fucking farm with adult Shulk in this world. And it's like, bro, like I just want to fucking play the game, bro. Like, just let
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And like, and I know you can say like, oh, don't look up the shit, and it's just like, no, it's bombarded to me like on my YouTubes and everything like that. Like that shit's just
Yeah, if
bombarded
you
to
go
you. So
watch like a review for a game, you're gonna see in your sidebar 80 million fucking videos of like how to do this in 2 minutes. It's like, yeah, I mean, dude, there are times where I go to those things, right? If I'm doing a trophy grind, I'm trying to plat a game, I'm going for that shit.
yeah,
But when I'm in my normal playthrough of a game, like first playthrough, I want nothing to do with that stuff. I want to experience the game in the most pure form possible.
yeah,
And that's kind of what I'm trying to do with Honkai, dude, because gachas are such I mean, they're toxic in multiple ways. The monetization system being the primary one, obviously, but the second reason, though, that they're toxic, in my opinion, is the way the communities interact with these games. Is like I was saying earlier, how the communities will determine what the best characters are, the best weapons are, and the best of everything, right? But you pay money for those things. So what it does is it creates this mentality within the community that certain characters are worth paying for while others are not, or worth paying more money for while others are not necessarily. So what
yeah,
happens is if you go look at Genshin's like banner numbers, a lot of the banners that have made the most money in that game are powerful characters, very powerful characters. Like
yeah,
there was a banner recently when I was still playing where they had a character named Hu Tao, and then they had a banner for a character named Ye Lan running at the same time. And these two characters are two of the most powerful in terms of raw damage that they do in the game.
yeah,
Um, and the way that they interact with other characters that are very easy to obtain, by the way, in the game. Like they are some of the best teams you can make in the game, like highest power scaling, like their ceiling is top end shit, even at one, like no constellations, like you got one copy of the character, they're that's powerful, dude. So those characters, like that double banner was one of the most profitable the game has ever had. It was like one of the top selling like double banners the game's ever done up to this point. It might still be the top. And that's not necessarily because of the character designs or anything like that, which I mean, to a degree, there is a very serious Hu Tao fandom out there. Like she is like one of the most recognizable characters for Genshin. But she's also one of the most powerful at the same time. So
yeah,
and yeah, dude, like it's just the way it happens. Like it got me too. I ended up rolling for both of those characters and I got them both. It's like so it's just the way these games tend to be, but it's not a healthy thing necessarily at the same time. We kind of do the company's job for them by hyping this shit up. And it's kind of a weird, like, gotcha communities are weird, man. They are weird. If you play any other game type of game and you don't interact with microtransactions very much in your games, like you would go, if you went into a Reddit for a gotcha game, you would fucking not understand what the hell is going on there at all, because it's a lot of people convincing themselves to spend money or justifying spending money, and gambling addictions and things like that. Like it's a really weird place within video games, especially when you look at like Honkai and Genshin. The amount of money that you have to spend in order to guarantee yourself something in these games is a lot. Like you need to spend
Yeah.
like $150 probably to get a character guaranteed. Maybe even 200. It might even be 200. Um, uh, that's assuming you're smart with the way you use your resources too. If you have nothing, you're starting with zero, and you have like no bonuses available to you, it's going to cost you hundreds, 300, $400 to guarantee a character if you're unlucky. Because the first pull on a feature banner is 50-50. It's a coin flip
Yeah.
whether you get the character or not. If you lose that 50-50, you have to do another 70 to 90 rolls more than likely in order to get the character, like guarantee the character. And that is probably that's $200 straight up to do that in the game just for those 90 pulls, so
Yeah. See, I don't know. I just I I don't want to like bash on a hardcore community. But the problem is the hardcore is becoming a casual, and I feel
yeah.
like that's a dangerous, dangerous road. Like,
Hmm.
because you remember when Fall Guys came out,
Yeah.
and everyone was having fun with it. Then this one streamer guy was like fucking sweating it out, and like somebody made a video on it, and everybody attacked the guy who made the video on it, saying like, "Why are these sweats in Fall Guys? It's a fucking party game
You play a jelly
designed for."
bean like going through an obstacle course. Like what are we doing here, man? It's like
And people
Mario Party.
attack.
Are you sweating on Mario Party? Like what
I
are
mean,
you
I'm
doing?
scared to play Mario Party online because I feel
Yeah,
like there's sweats on there.
you're totally, yep. You're
And it,
definitely correct.
because I thought about it, I was like, "Yeah, do you want to play, Mario Party online?" And she was like, "It's up to you." And I'm like, "Nah, we just play against the computer because I just don't feel like playing against sweats." It's like, "Oh, I know the most optimal fucking dice to use for
I'll
this
play with you guys.
character." Oh yeah,
I'll
okay, for
probably
sure.
dominate you though. I am the sweat in Mario Party, actually. I'm not gonna lie. I am the sweat.
But it's just really weird, and yeah, I just don't like. I love hardcore stuff because I can be in the hardcore crowd as well, like for Devil May Cry and everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but I recognize that there's like a group of people who just play Devil May Cry casually, and I actually glad they have like the automatic mode, combat mode in Devil May Cry for those type of people, and it's like because they can enjoy the game and do cool shit as well. Um, but I don't know. I just feel like there's just like no balance. Either a game is super casual now or it's super fucking hardcore, and it's just kind of
Yeah.
sad at the moment. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully, get better.
Yeah. Well, last word on Hawkeye Starro. I'm just gonna again continue to caution people to getting into this game.
Hmm.
That money that I'm talking about is very real, like how much you would have to spend. And
Jesus.
if you are not, you don't have a lot of disposable income, I would God, caution you against playing this game because they are very, very effective at getting people to spend money. Like it is a psychological, um, honestly, it's like a clinic on how you do this shit because they give you enough to let you pull and then you'll get close. And it's like you don't have enough resources to get the character before the banner goes away. So it's either you spend money and get the character or you're fucking waiting God knows how long. You have no idea. It could be 6 months, it could be 2 years before that character comes back.
Yeah.
And that's how they get you. So I mean, the thing is, like, it works on me, but I have plenty of disposable income to work with. Like, I'm not, hurting myself by spending money in this game. But for those of you who don't have a lot of disposable income, like these games are really dangerous. So as cool as Honkai Star Rail might look, think twice about it. Do your research. Like go into the Reddit and read this shit and like see some of these stories. Like there are people that will post stories like of horror stories of shit they've done in these games, how much money they put into it. So I would really recommend you think twice before you jump into it. As much as I'm saying it's a cool game, it's quality and all that stuff. Like at the same time, I know what it is. I know what I'm doing. I'm very aware of what I'm playing. It is a fucking gotcha game that is going to make billions of dollars every year. Like these games are here to make money. And as good of a game as it is, and as good of a game as Hoyoverse can make, at the same time, they also know what they're fucking doing. They know how to make money off people. So, um, yeah, just caution there. So, all right, I'll get off my soapbox. Montrell, that's all I've been playing. Let's move on to the news, which we don't have a lot this week, but a couple interesting stories. So, kind of came out this week that Overwatch 2, the PVE mode that was first talked about back in BlizzCon of 2019 when Overwatch 2 was announced, has been canceled. This was revealed um, by a chat that was going on with some developers. I don't know if this was like an AMA or necessarily what this was, but yeah, developers did confirm this.
Yeah,
That
it's like a developer update, on the
okay.
game, state of the game type deal.
Oh, I see. See. Yes.
Yeah, they had like a
So
whole
yeah,
2 hour thing. I watched 2 hours.
yeah,
I did watch the whole thing. Um, but yeah, there was like, they were discussing all the new content coming out and then their content rollout and everything of that
yeah.
nature.
Oh yeah, there was a roadmap they released. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this one has been interesting. I think our friend group's actually been kind of mixed on this one. I think me and you are a little bit more disappointed in this than some other people. Like, I think Brad was not. He didn't really give a shit at all. He was like, I mean, this isn't the game, you know. But I think the problem I have, and I think you may be in a similar boat with this, is that they announced it. And this was a huge selling point to Overwatch 2. And yes, Brad made the point that Overwatch 2 is free to play, but
Mm-hmm.
we all know that's not true. They're trying to sell shit in the game. They're trying to make money off of it. And they want people to play it so that, for what I was talking about on Honkai Star Rail, you convince yourself that you want to spend money on this game. So how did they do that? How did they get people interested in the game? By announcing a PvE mode, like a story campaign. You know,
Well,
it got us interested, certainly.
yeah, I felt like the whole Overwatch 2 thing
Mhm.
was like a scam almost. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to say
No,
that because
what's
a
even the
scam.
point of it? It's just Overwatch
Yeah,
1. It's the same fucking game. Like, yeah,
yeah.
they've made big changes to it, but like
I
they
mean,
need a
yeah,
whole new
they,
game for this. No.
yeah, and it's like I don't like that. I
Yeah.
think that's very. I feel like if any other game company did this, well, I mean, people are complaining about it, but it's just really weird. Like I feel like if an indie company did this, people are like, why the fuck would you do that or whatever? And it's just like, yeah, I mean, Brad does have a point. Like, it's a free to play game or whatever the case may be. But from what I remember, I believe this is supposed to be a whole standalone thing that you're supposed to buy, right?
Yes.
For
It
like
was gonna
maybe
be like
20
a
or $30.
$50. It was gonna be like
Oh,
a, I think, a $40 or $50 story
okay.
campaign a la Uncharted or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's supposed to have like character progression trees and all the other shit like that, which I thought was going to be cool. I always wanted to play a story mode, and I mean, not to say that they're not going to release story mode missions, which I probably will play the story mode missions, but I feel like they're going to be like very mediocre, and it's not going to be like worth the damn. It's just going to be like if you're very interested in the story, then these are the story missions that you can do or whatever. They're probably going to roll them out like every couple of events or whatever the case may be. Oh, here's like, Tracer's story mission now or whatever the case. And I don't feel like that's adequate enough. Like I don't know. Overwatch has always confused me because I don't know what the fuck is going on. And like even if I do read the comments and shit like that, like I don't know. I just feel like you shouldn't have to do that. But Apex is the same bullshit, right? But I know about the Apex universe from Titanfall, but I don't know
Hmm.
about those particular legends and their relationships with each other. I know, like, Loba parents got killed by fucking Revenant, and that was like in the reveal trailer and shit like that. So little shit like that or whatever, and they do that with Overwatch. But I feel like Overwatch has so many like different things going on with it. It's way more deeper than Apex. And it's like I feel like the story is there. I just don't want to have to read a comic to get it. Why can't I get that whole thing inside the game? And I mean, League of Legends does it as well. And I don't know, but they also have like a world glossary and fucking in the client and stuff like that where you can look at. Israel's adventures on a website or something like that. So I don't I think Overwatch has something like that as well. Um, but I was just really looking forward to this to like, playing the PvE because what they showed of the PvE, what they were marketing, like look really fucking fun, like fighting those robots and shit like that, and different types of robots and bosses and stuff like that, and just trying to figure out certain like combinations with the heroes that you have to do certain things. And it would have been like a nice little like dungeon crawler type situation almost. Uh, I don't know, a la Destiny or fucking I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's very disappointing, and I just don't agree with that whole mentality. Like, oh, it's free to play. You're still getting story missions anyway. Like, I just feel like that's kind of scummy. Like, I don't know. In the Overwatch community, I was gonna go hard on the Overwatch community, but they're mad and they have every reason to be mad. And it's just like, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, but now you can get in line with us with our start with the StarCraft and the Warcraft original Warcraft fans, where we're just like, yep, this is Blizzard, man. Like this is what they do. Like they hype you up and then tear you down. And
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think anybody that's a fan of Blizzard or ever been a fan of Blizzard or followed Blizzard, is used to this kind of disappointment. I mean, how many times do I need to point to Warcraft 3 Reforged, you know, since that fucking trash heap came out. But it's kind of a thing. I don't look at this in context necessarily of just Blizzard.
mhm.
This is a gaming industry problem where
Yes,
games
yes,
get
modern
discussed,
gaming.
announced, and shown very early in development sometimes, and things change over the course of development, which is exactly what the developers talk about in this interview they did with GameSpot,
Yep.
with an interview they did with GameSpot. And while I understand where they are coming from, I think we let gaming companies like game developers in this industry and publishers get off the hook way too easily with this stuff. I don't think it's fair or even tasteful to go out on stage at a showcase, which by the way, there's a PlayStation showcase next week, so we're going to have, announcements and stuff. It's not tasteful to go out to something like that or BlizzCon or some event where you are hyping your studio up and the shit they're working on and you're hyping your fucking fan base up to go out there and talk about a game and then eventually get around to when the game comes out and it's nothing like what you discussed at that original presentation. I get it, games change, direction changes, people leave, leave, leaders change, what they want to do with the game changes. But at the same time, you have told the public certain things, and to suddenly pivot away from that and just not do it entirely is not necessarily an acceptable thing to me. I'm not saying you can never do that, but at the same time, I mean, you're advertising your game when you walk out on stage and do that. You like when they announced Overwatch 2. Overwatch 2 is a bad example because it's a free to play game. But let's say whatever the
No, no,
sequel is
no,
to
no, no, no,
Jedi
no.
to Jedi Survivor, they're gonna walk out there and ask for pre-orders the second they announce the game. That's fucked up, to
Well,
do that.
they're walking out there, and one can say no one asked. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like you walked out there freely and was like, "Hey, we're announcing Overwatch 2. We're going to have a comprehensive story mode or a comprehensive single player or not single player, but PvE mode and all this other bullshit like that." And I think players would have just been okay if you just kind of came out and said, "We're going to do some story missions. We're rehauling the game, and we're going to add story missions like every single couple of seasons or whatever to flesh
yeah,
out the world more."
yeah.
But it was their choice to do this ambitious project, which I commend them for it. But at the same time, you can't be 4 years into it because they said they were 4 years into it and they just scrapped it. And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Like, how
dude,
do
there's a
you
part of
do?
this interview where they talk about a 2.5 year gap of content where they were working on this. There was nothing released for Overwatch during that time. That is fucking insane.
Yeah,
And I think DJ's talked about that actually before when he was on the show. Like that's crazy. And to like do that to your player base, then announce this and then not do it. It's I don't
Yeah,
know.
because
I
think about the people that defended that. They were like, "Yo, well, there's light in the end of the tunnel because we're going to get this great content that's coming out, or whatever." And even when DJ said that, I was like, "You know what? You're absolutely right because they probably stretched thin. I mean, we can play a couple more free to play games or whatever until this dope single player comes out or dope PVE
yeah,
comes out." Um, and now that
right.
that's gone, it's like I understand. I just don't understand for what they were saying, like, "Oh, we're lacking in getting content out or whatever." Well, hire more people. Like y'all definitely got the capital for it. So it's like hire more people to get the stuff out there, or don't, or tell players like, "Hey, it's going to be," or try to push like part of the content out and then push half of it out later. You know what I'm saying? Like try to do something. Um, but just scrapping it all together, I mean, I guess it's better than nothing. I guess it's better than half-assing it. Um, I don't know. The more I talk about it, the more I think like it's just a hard situation to be in, and I don't know what I would do in that situation. Um, and I'm pretty sure the decision was hard, but at the same time, you have to think about like your player base. You have to think about your consumers, and I think that's what companies need to start doing. Um, I talked about this earlier, like on the timeline and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and I asked the question like, when you criticize a video game, people act like you're criticizing the developers,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
yeah, and it's just weird because if I talk about this iPhone that I have, I'm like, man, the iPhone 11 is the worst fucking iPhone I've ever had in my fucking life. Like, what are they doing with Apple? People will be like, how dare you talk about Apple like that? You know how hard those people work to make this fucking phone for you, and it's like no one else does that. Like, and I didn't attack like Steve Jobs. I didn't attack a specific person in Apple. I just said, Apple, this fucking phone sucks. And like when we do that with video games, people act like you're attacking the developers, like we saw at Redfall. My point is, I'm getting to though, is that when I think developers see us as players and not consumers, or
Hmm.
they see us actually as both. They see us as players and then people that consume, but they don't see us as a consumer or customer. Because if you're seeing us as a customer, the slogan is what? The customer's always right. Or if you're taking it to IT terms, you don't see us as a client, right? The user, the end user, or the client is always right at the end of the day. And you try to give them the best the product you can deliver to them. And I feel like the game industry gets over on that because I feel like they feel like the majority of the game industry is just these people that live in basements that you can push over in high school or shove in lockers or something like that. And maybe that's just the way I feel about it personally, but I feel like players of all calibers, even the ones that are defending the products themselves, I feel like everybody's getting done a disservice now with modern gaming, like you said. Um, I don't feel like no one's satisfied. I feel bad for the Call of Duty community, right? Because like Warzone 2 is terrible. And then now we just got a leak that's saying Warzone 3 is coming out or Modern Warfare 3 is coming out this year. And it's like, bro, y'all didn't even fix the last game. So y'all just gonna drop another game? And it's
Yeah,
it is
yeah,
I don't know. And if you complain to them or you say anything to them, you're blocked, or they're on Twitter or they're on Reddit saying like, you guys are spamming us, you guys are calling us mean names and stuff like that. And it's like, we just want a quality product. And I don't know. I feel like all this is coming to a head with like Blizzard and everything like that because people want quality products. I feel I I'll go on record saying this. If Diablo 4 flops, I will not say anything about it because I'm gonna feel so bad for this company and the people that worked on these games that it's not even gonna be funny to like shit on them because Diablo 4 is their last hurrah. After that, I, I mean, the company's
yeah,
already in the toilet as far as reputation wise. People still making breast milk jokes, so it's like I don't know what to
yeah.
say.
My, I think my takeaway from this kind of thing is, I mean, we always argue on this show. Why do you announce your game so early? You know, like why did you
Mhm.
announce your game 3 years before it was going to come out? Maybe they intended it to come out sooner than that, 1 year or 2 years. But the reality is, it came out 3 years later, and I just think games benefit a lot more from not being shown until they're ready to be shown, or talked about even before they're ready to be talked about. Because my thought is you either announce it mega early, like kind of like movies do, where it's like a known thing before they're even in production, with a game,
Hmm.
and it becomes like a very public thing where you're giving progress updates and things like that, or you wait like Fallout 4 and you wait till it's about to come 6 months before it's about to come out and you just drop the game.
Yeah.
um and I think over time the waiting approach has been a lot more effective than being talking about a game. I think the ultimate problem is, though, if you're going to talk about your game early, I think you need to put a lot of caveats into what you're saying, and I think companies don't want to do that. Like publishers definitely don't want to do that shit because it's not sexy to say, well, guys, we're working on this, this, and this. However, what we're working on could be look very different when this game comes out. So don't get latched on to it. They're not gonna say that. They want you to go pre-order it on Amazon the second they're fucking done talking. So like that's the thing. It's this really ugly capitalist driven, profitability bullshit that like kind of guides the way people talk about these games. Because dude, reading this interview, man, it's just fuck. There's some of the superlatives they use to talk about their game, where they're or talk about the development of the game. There's like a quote in here where this guy Jared Noose, I think, or Naeus, I don't know how to say his name, but he says, "quote Okay, well, is it what?" So hold on. He quotes. So he says, when you get into the meat of it and you start feeling it out, he's talking about developing a game. Okay,
Hmm.
well, is this fun? Is this good? Is this original idea the thing that we think is going to be awesome? And then you iterate on that until you find something you're really excited about. Yeah. Okay. In a nutshell, that's how most people talk about games. But it's using that word awesome, I think, that I kind of have a problem with, right? It's game developers do this shit all the time where they get super excited about their game, and I get it. You're making something cool. It's fucking like, it's your fucking passion project, blah blah blah. I mean, we all have this stuff, right? But like this is where the disconnect happens, where you're talking about they don't treat us like consumers. Like, dude, if you're selling me a fucking microwave, you're not gonna tell me that you're not gonna fucking explain it like it's awesome when you're developing it. Oh, this fucking awesome microwave, the way it heats shit up is so revolutionary. It's like, dude, if somebody did that on a stage, they would get laughed out of wherever they are. It's like, so I don't know why we treat games so, again, we treat games differently because of what they are. Games are awesome, they're fun, they're cool. It's like they are the hip thing right now, in the world. But I think developers got to realize the way they talk. It's like when you use a superlative like that, you are hyperbolizing what you're doing. And fans, unfortunately, a lot of them are not capable of separating that hyperbole from what the actual reality might end up being. They're not looking that far ahead. They just hear you say that and they're thinking about the game and they're fucking excited about the game. And it's like fucking, they just jump on it and bang, then the game comes out and it's not what they wanted. And here we are. It's like we're mad about Overwatch not having a story mode. It's like this cycle happens over and over and over and over. We've talked about this on this fucking show for 4.5 years, guys. Like, it's ad nauseum. We talk about this all the time, and it's like we keep falling for it over and over. Like, when does it change? I don't know what we do to make it change, because people can't talk about games in like an objective way. And I'm not saying that what we talk about in the show is objective necessarily, but like
Hmm.
having the groundedness like in your mind to be grounded enough to like think about a game in a realistic way. When you hear somebody say this game is going to be awesome, don't just think, damn, I'm really excited about this game. They're like so fucking excited about it. It's like, what have they told you? Nothing. Like when they announced the story mode, right? They started getting into all this stuff. There's going to be talent trees. You're going to be able to play every hero. It's going to be this like story driven campaign with cinematics and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, you're not showing us anything, number one. Number two, that sounds really ambitious, because further down in this interview, one of the other developers, Keller, I don't know the full name, they're just listed as Keller here, talks about the scope of what this was going to be, and that they were going to have every hero in it, and every hero was going to have 40 to 50 talents per hero, 35 heroes. So you're going to have to make thousands of talents for this game and all this stuff. And you're going to have to keep up with it while it's adjacent to the live service, multiplayer aspect of the game as well. You're going to need to keep both of those running at the same time. And I'm like, I'm reading this and I'm like, dude, was anybody asking for this? Like, where did you guys, why did you let the scope like this run away from you? I don't understand. Like, who was there? Nobody there that was like, guys, we don't have to put every fucking character in the game in our campaign. That's not a hard requirement. Why do you think that's a hard requirement? I don't understand that. That doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
that doesn't make
Like,
any sense.
that's
Like,
insane. You're going to put 35 heroes into a fucking story campaign? Like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, be concise. Like, pick a story. Like, pick 4 or 5 of them and make a story around those 4 or 5. The other ones could make cameos or something like that. Like fucking Arcane, right? Arcane is a perfect example. Like, Riot had a small scope for that show. There were a number of characters in it, maybe 10 or something like that from League of Legends.
If even that, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
and there's 150 in the game. That wasn't their ambition. Wasn't to put the whole fucking game in that story. Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand how you got there. No one was asking you to do that. I don't understand. So this is the thing. They let this shit get away from themselves, and they aren't taking ownership of it, in my opinion. Like that, they're not self aware enough to even say that. They're self-aware enough to say that the scope of what they were working on is so large, but why was the scope that large? Like, who decided the scope was that, and why
Yeah,
didn't the team or anybody in leadership say, hey guys, maybe we're biting off a little bit more than we can chew here? It's
yeah.
Titan
It
all over again. It's like,
it
what?
does it does come down to like bad management. Yeah, it is the Titan project all over again. You're right, and that's how that's isn't that how fucking Overwatch was even made because of the
Yes,
Titan project?
Overwatch was built out of the ashes of Titan. Yes.
Yeah. So I think Riot is a really good example of how to do side stories in single player games. They have the Rune King game where I think they only have like 5 or 6
Yeah.
legends that you take into a party
Mhm.
into the Rune
Yep.
King or whatever, and it goes over the story of Viego and everything like that. You got the Silas roguelite that just came out, and that has Silas in it. It mentions Garen. It has you fight Garen, Lux because they're an integral part of Demacia in the story. And then the characters that you do that are in League of Legends, like Morgana, fucking Shyvana, and everything like that, like their powers, because I play the game, is actually really fucking fun. But their powers are exaggerated, right? Like to
Yep.
to the point outside the scope of the game. Like Shyvana transforms in the game, she transforms into a dragon, right? And it's not like a huge fucking dragon. In the fucking game, the dragon takes like half the fucking screen. Like
Yeah.
Morgana, right? Her
Yeah.
alt change you, right? And it's just an alt that changed everybody within their radius, right? In the game, it's almost like some kind of Super Saiyan like circle that you got the fucking dodge, and Morgana's like super fucking powerful in the game.
Mhm.
Like you can do stuff outside the games, um, with like single character stories. Like what if there was like a fucking action adventure type Tracer game? You use Tracer and you do wall running and all that other shit like that, and you have some time mechanic or whatever, and you fight certain characters within that world or whatever. And the thing that I don't like about fucking Blizzard is this, man. What Riot is doing, they're like, hey, Devolver Digital, you know how to make these type of games. We got this character named Silas, and we got the story right here. Make something out of that. And they
Yeah.
do that. And Devolver Digital does what they do. Blizzard absolutely refuses to work with any third party company. You need to do
Except
that
for a
for your
mobile
friend,
game. Except when it's a
except for
mobile game.
except for if it's a mobile game, or if it's fucking
Warcraft
it's
3.
like it's like a shadow company that works on
Yeah.
it. You don't really want to fucking admit it or
They
whatever,
don't want
but
to admit that it's a shadow company working on the game.
yeah,
Yeah, no, yeah, right.
exactly.
Yeah.
But
Fallout
like, yeah,
76. Lol.
it's like, yeah, use these companies um to your advantage. Like that's what they're there for. These independent companies, you can control what you give them. I mean, Kojima did it with fucking Metal Gear Rising. He realized, hey, his team could not make a good action game, and they gave it over to Platinum. Like there's like Platinum, they're like Platinum will write the script and the story, but we want y'all to handle the action. And here's our vision. And then Platinum made it happen. I mean, there's no
That game is
problem with,
still insane, by the way, dude.
yeah. It is.
I've never played it, but dude, I just think about that game like out of context, and man, it's insane that that game was ever made.
Yeah, it's actually like it's one of those games where it's that people didn't appreciate it when it came out, but now it's like everybody's playing it. I always see YouTube videos of people playing it, and they're like, "Man, I can't believe this game's like 13 years old, or whatever the case, or
Came
10
out on a
years old."
it came out on PS3.
Yeah, PS3 and Xbox 360.
Yeah, insane.
So, um, yeah, I just think that comes down to, like you said, leadership and management. Delegate your work. Out of everybody, I think me and Justin understand. There's nothing better than like you trying to do your own work because this is your baby and you're like, I don't want to delegate it to anybody else because this I am working on this. This is my
You
shit.
want it to be done right. Yeah.
Yeah. But at
And
the same
you
time,
doing it is the only way you can guarantee that, but
yeah, at the
man,
same
you
time,
can't do
you
everything, bro.
exactly. You have to delegate some of your work. If if the multiplayer of Overwatch is too big for you to handle, for your team to handle, or it's too big for you to not to let anybody go, you need everybody hands on deck for the multiplayer. Delegate it to another team or a whole other studio. To go to Activision, it's like, yo, this is gonna make us a lot of money on the side if we make these side stories or whatever, these side video games. And that's what they should do going forward. And I mean, how many times have we told how have the fans asked Blizzard for like side stories of StarCraft, Warcraft, and all these other games where they don't have to make the games themselves? They can delegate it to somebody else and just have them do it. I
Yeah.
mean, even Nintendo does it. Nintendo is one of the most anal companies about their IPs, and they gave it to Retro Studios and were like, hey, make Metroid for us. And they did, and it turned out to be one of their biggest hits. So it's like, let other people do stuff. Um,
Yeah, and I mean, this is a reason why part of me is excited about the idea of Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard
mhm.
because I think it would open up opportunities that don't exist today, and I would hope, which I at this point is probably a vain hope, but hope that Microsoft leadership or Xbox leadership would look at Blizzard and be like, "Damn, we got some great IPs here. Maybe we could farm this out to some other teams and make some different games that aren't normally a part of this kind of universe. Like, could we make a Skyrim style Warcraft game, for instance, or like a fucking or like a first person shooter set in the StarCraft universe, you know?
And I'm pretty sure
Some
developers will love to get their hands on these IPs and be like, yes, let's go for it. You
Yeah,
know,
man. You can make some great shit with what Blizzard has. Diablo, StarCraft, and Warcraft, and fuck, Overwatch. These are really strong IPs. Like,
yeah,
I'm sorry. As much as I hate, like, I kind of hate Blizzard now, and many people do, I can't deny that fact, though. These are really strong IPs, dude.
exactly.
Like if you do the right things with them and make the right kind of games and the right genres, man, you could have some fucking nice
Uh,
shit on
uh,
your hands, you know?
Imagine Ninja Theory doing a story with Genshi, Hanzo, and I
Hmm.
forgot her name. Like, imagine them doing the game with Ninja Theory if
Or
they were
fucking
under Microsoft.
Team Ninja making like a Neo style Overwatch game with Genji, you know, or
Yeah,
something, you know, like I don't know, like get weird, but it's like there's so many opportunities here, and I think this is the frustration with Blizzard is they are just stuck in this rut of making the same shit over and over again, and they've done it with all their franchises for like 20 years now, you know? Like StarCraft, they just keep making they made an RTS, another RTS was StarCraft 2, which is fine, but then they split it into 3 games, and then there was like all this DLC of these mini stories and all this shit that fucking came out after Legacy of the Void. It's like, dude, why did you drag this game out for 10 years, you know? Like, I don't
yeah.
understand why StarCraft 2 became this 10-year epic that you were fucking trying to tell. You know, I don't understand why their scope is so out of control. And then Diablo 4 takes 11 years to come out. And it's like, I mean, it's going to be better than Diablo 3 probably, but it's the same old Diablo. It's not going to be that innovative and revolutionary in the genre. Like, certainly not. And then Overwatch 2 is fucking Overwatch. It's just Overwatch 1. It's literally the same thing with fucking more characters and more maps. Like, oh wow, whoopity doo dah. Like, you know, this like interesting idea of a PVE story mode that you had, you just scrap it. It's gone, you know? And you're going to make these little mini stories and it's like I don't understand like what is wrong with Blizzard? Like what is so wrong with this company that they just cannot Like
I I, I
I'm
really think they
surprised
think
they're
their
still as
IPs are,
successful as they are.
yeah, because you know why? The stuff that they do make and push out, I mean, relatively speaking, they make very good quality stuff. As much as
Yeah,
we don't like Overwatch, it started the whole hero shooter franchise. It's a very fucking quality game. It beat
yeah,
out Battleborn by miles, right?
yeah.
And then everybody else started copying that mantra. Diablo 3, like I said, like a lot, I like Diablo 3, but a lot of older people or older fans of Diablo don't like Diablo 3. But what Diablo 3 was, it did it very fucking well, and that spawned a whole host of games. I am on record saying, I'll go on record saying, if there wasn't a Diablo 3, there would never be a Destiny. And like people can
Well,
say stretch that,
yeah,
but that's what it is. Like a lot of people copied the Diablo 3 style of looting
dude,
and everything of that
I think
nature.
the ARPG genre owes Diablo 3 a lot actually right now. Like I
Hmm.
don't think a lot of the evolution of the ARPG genre that we've had in the last 10 years would have happened if Diablo 3 hadn't come out the way
Yeah,
it did, you know?
because it pushed
Um,
the boundaries and stuff like it.
well,
It just
I
did
just think a
everything.
lot of companies reacted to that game, though. I think because I'm thinking of like Path of Exile, right? They decided to make a game on the total opposite side of the spectrum from Diablo
Yeah,
3, you know? And so did Grim Dawn. Grim Dawn, like Crate did the same thing with Grim Dawn. And then there's been a lot of other ARPGs that have come out since that have now defined the genre in the opposite direction of where Diablo 3 did. It was influential, like in a negative way, like to itself, like negatively
yeah,
towards itself. Like it had such a negative reception in a lot of ways that companies saw an opportunity to make games that, and I'm glad it happened because I love that genre, dude. And it's now back and it's stronger than ever, you know? It was
yeah.
dead when Diablo 3 came out, you know? So
And they revived it and kind of casualized it to where the casuals can look if they wanted something more hardcore. They got Path of Exile, they got Grim Dawn, they got these other choices where they can go to. And like yeah, all their games that do get released, they're polished to a fine craft, a T or whatever. And
yeah,
whatever target audience they're trying to target, they hit that target audience. And that's what Blizzard does well. The problem is these IPs, in my opinion, they work on them so hard, especially I'm assuming like upper management and everything like that. These are their babies, right? So they don't want to give their baby up to someone else and like have them potentially fuck it up. But it's like you never gave anybody else the chance
I
to
mean,
fuck it up.
they fucked it up
They
already.
fucked it
So
up.
I
Yeah.
don't know why they're so scared of someone else fucking up because you can't fuck it up harder than Warcraft 3 Reforged. So, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
like and you did that, Blizzard. You did that. So don't be afraid to give Warcraft to somebody else because they're probably going to do a better job than you did on Warcraft 3 Reforged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I think and unfortunately, like there's no one to tell them this. Start delegating your IPs out to people. Start delegating your ideas out to other studios and stuff like that. But unfortunately, I haven't seen not one YouTuber say that, not one magazine person article say that. Like I haven't seen everybody's just shitting on Blizzard like we did, but they're not giving Blizzard solutions to what you're shitting on. Like give them solutions. And I don't feel like anyone in the office is maybe there are some lower level people like, hey, maybe we need to delegate this stuff to like third party studios, but I don't know. That's just here nor there at this point. That's all I
Yeah.
got. Because
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And I like to
I
be
don't want
fair
to
to
see Blizzard fail. I don't.
yeah. No, I mean to
I
be
think
fair to them overall, like I don't think this is like a disaster necessarily.
no, the
Overwatch 2
IP
is
is still going
actually
to go be super strong.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think Overwatch 2 has actually been fairly successful. They revitalized a game that was kind of dead with the release of it, but it's just a frustrating kind of end point to another story with Blizzard where you know, you know, they've canceled a lot of games over time. You know, even before the merge with Activision, there was, you know, StarCraft Ghost famously
StarCraft goes. Yep.
was canceled. There was like a Warcraft adventure game that they didn't go forward with. You know, so it's not exclusive to now, but I think the thing is they've become a very safe company, and that is not what Blizzard used to be. They were not safe. They drove the industry forward. You know, they were the ones setting the trends. You know, Warcraft 3 was a fucking revolutionary game for the RTS. StarCraft was a revolutionary game for the RTS. Before that, World of Warcraft was a revolutionary game for the MMO. And then StarCraft 2 wasn't revolutionary.
Yeah, I
Overwatch
mean,
itself, maybe you could argue it was. I mean, to your
I
point, it
I, I
was
would
kind of the birth
I
of a
would put
genre, I guess.
yeah, I'll put that as
But
a revolutionary. Like we wouldn't
but
have hero shooters without
yeah.
Overwatch.
And yeah, maybe Hearthstone, you could argue, kind of kicked off this whole CCG mobile craze, because there's shit's like a dime a dozen now.
Yeah.
But uh, it, but then you've got Diablo 3. It's and come on, man. Like that
Which
wasn't
I would say cleaned itself up by the end of its life cycle.
yeah, but it was a disaster when it launched,
Yeah, it
and
was a disaster when
it
launch. Yeah.
it unfortunately, because of that disaster, was unable to find any purchase ultimately in that genre. Like it turned people off, I guess, is what I'll say.
Well, I think they're just scared, right? You got to think about their recent blunder. Their most recent blunder is Heroes of the Storm, right? And
Yeah. Oh man, that was
and
bad.
I think I mean besides Diablo 3, I think Heroes of the Storm is a blunder that a lot of people forget about. And you had a franchise or a not a franchise, but an actual genre come out of your game, which is Warcraft 3, custom lobbies, and then you don't capitalize on it. You capitalize it too late, and then you capitalize on a worse version of said genre, and then it fails. And I don't know if that was just pure Blizzard themselves, or maybe they did hire that out to a third party company that did that game. I'm not too sure on Heroes of the Storm lore. But
Yeah.
even that game could have been like, why not just make it the same, not the same 3 lane thing? But I mean, obviously it works. I mean, DJ plays Paragon, and that's literally a third person version of fucking League at this point.
No, I
So
think
it's
they tried to zig. I think they tried to zig while everyone else was zagging, and nobody
yeah,
cared about their zig. Like, it was not an
exactly,
interesting zig.
exactly,
It
exactly.
was a bad choice. The choices they made, they went so anti MOBA with their design that the game wasn't fun.
Yeah.
And nobody wanted to play it. So, because yeah, I played Heroes of the Storm, dude, and it played well. The game felt good to play, like the moment to moment gameplay, like controlling your characters and stuff like that. But the design of the way the game worked was terrible. Like, the entire team shared experience. There were no items in the game.
Ugh.
Your entire character's leveling system was a weird skill tree that was the only differentiation you would have every game. It's like, it was weird. It was weird. It was a weird game, and it did not work out for them. And I think it I don't know. It's weird because it is them trying something new, I guess, but they
Mhm.
were butthurt about Dota.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like, it was a reaction to Dota too. They were really butthurt about that game and how successful that fucking game was, to the point where they sued Valve over it, and they didn't win the lawsuit, so they decided to make their own fucking MOBA. And it clearly, the thing is, it was doomed to fail from the beginning, like, in my opinion, because think about it. If they were good at making that kind of game, they would have made Dota 2 before Dota came out. Before Dota 2 came out, they would have made a League of Legends before League of Legends came out. If they had any inclination that shit was going to be popular, they would have done it. But they didn't.
I,
So
I
what
just
made them think that they could make that game? I don't know why. They didn't see within their own game for years that they had something
well,
there.
that's what I
And
was gonna
yeah,
say. Like, I don't know what's going on with the Blizzard leadership. Because I really don't think it's like the low level or mid tier developers. I think it's the higher up developer,
yeah.
the upper management. Because you're right. There's no way, because there are plenty of developers. Like a couple of them follow me on Twitter and stuff like that, and they play these games, and they're like, "Yeah, I play fucking Apex, bro, or I play fucking League of Legends, bro." These developers play these games or in these custom lobbies. There's no fucking way that nobody in Blizzard was playing Dota and told them like, "Hey, maybe we need to jump on this." Every time I log into every time I log into Warcraft 3 custom lobbies, everything's Dota. That's all I see is Dota. Maybe we need to do something with this.
It literally
And
was
they
like that too, by the way, guys. Like it was literally Dota, 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 Footy Wars, Dota, Dota, Dota. Like that was it. That was the whole custom list at a certain point in that game's
Yeah,
life.
yeah, and it's like, and it's like, okay, why not capitalize on this? And it's like they're like, nah, whatever. And even the whole tower defense games, right? Like someone was like, someone had to be like, there are mobile games of tower defense that are using the same things that
Yeah,
they're
man.
making in fucking Warcraft.
That's another genre that's got spawned out of customs. Like
And it's like, why don't we
funny
make a
as hell.
StarCraft like tower defense or a fucking
Yeah,
Warcraft tower
man.
defense mobile
Yeah,
game?
dude.
Like they're just now getting into this stuff, and like the whole
15,
craze.
20 years later, bro. 20 years later it took them, you know? Like what they're so slow, man. That is ultimately Blizzard's main problem is they're so slow in everything they do. They've always been slow, but it's really starting to hurt them now in this modern era. I
Yeah,
think more than it did back in the day because, when we got that one game from Blizzard, it was a fucking 10, bro. Like it was a 10 when it came out, you know? But now it's like, it's like a 7 or an 8, and it's like why
or
am
it
I going to
doesn't
wait
come out.
6 years? Or it doesn't come out at all. It's like, why am I waiting 6 years for a game that's an 8? It's like, it's not that exciting. I'm not excited. Like Diablo 4, I'm taking a week off to play that game. I am looking forward to the game.
Yeah,
But do I think this game is going to be revolutionary? Do I think our friend group's going to be playing this game for the next year straight?
no, well,
No,
probably. I don't know.
no,
Our friend group's
no,
kind of weird. They're kind of
no,
grindy.
no, bro. Jet and Brad, I
Hate
think
this
Brad
game.
especially. Brad's gonna play the game a little bit just because we're playing it, and then he's gonna drop it. And I think Jet will play it for a bit, and I think he's gonna end up back on D2. Like I think that's the reality. No, I do, I do.
Well, it's just weird because, like you said, they're always slow to the punch. But then you have games that did spawn off of it, and companies that did not companies that spawn off of it, but games that did spawn off of it. Where like Dota, right? They realize Dota 2, for instance, they realize that this auto chess thing is a thing that's going on. Where are these auto chess custom lobbies coming from? What the fuck is this?
Right,
And they
right.
made a whole mode off of it. And then League
Yeah,
of Legends saw that and they
copied
made
it.
TFT. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
those have actual communities and everything off that one custom match that someone made. And and they did that really fast. You know, I
They're
just laugh
smart
at Bl-
companies. They have their nose to the ground. Like they are in their community. They're embedded in their community. They know what
yeah,
they're doing.
they're blending in with the common man or the common gamer because they are the gamer themselves.
They're not smelling in their own farts and thinking they're
Yeah.
oh, people are come no matter what we do.
Yeah, I really don't think Blizzard a lot of them play their games. Like I'm just being straight up. A lot of them probably do, but I don't think none of the other management does. Whereas Riot, a lot of those dudes, they play the fucking video games. Like they play
Yeah,
their game. Now, whether the balancing issue is there or not, I don't know. But I know they do play their games because I see them in streamer games all the time. We're like, oh my god, I can't fucking cuss today, y'all, because Riot fucking Moonbright's on the other side of on the fucking team or whatever. So it's
yeah,
like they
yeah,
do play those games. So I don't know. I just want Blizzard to do better, but I really wish they had someone in their corner to tell them, hey, you need to do better, you know? And I don't think they have that.
yeah, yeah. Or just I don't know, somebody to push them to take some chances, man. Make a different kind of game. I
They
guess the
have the capital
survival
to make a
game.
risk.
I guess the survival game is their different game. But dude,
Bro, when was that game?
when did we first talk about that? What, a year ago, 2 years ago now? Like
Bro, I think
what?
we were still in
How
the
much?
closet when we heard that news.
Yeah,
I want
how?
to say we were in the closet when we heard that news.
No, I'm gonna look it
I,
up. But
I
how much do you want to bet though that the game is gonna get canceled? We're gonna hear. We're gonna have a cancellation story in the next year or two.
or it just never happened. And then people were
Or
10
we never
years
hear
later. So I'm
about it.
like,
Yeah,
yeah,
Jason Schreier fucking reports on it.
yeah. And who wants a survival game now? Like that was a fad like 5 years ago.
Mhm.
Like no one's playing survival games. The whole it's Escape from Tarkov now. That's the whole fad. That's that whole
Yeah,
PC core out.
yeah.
Like I don't know.
Okay, so I think it was early 2022 that we first heard about
Okay,
it. That was like a
all
year and
right,
a half ago.
yeah. I don't know, a survivor game. It has to have build mechanics in it because that's the
Well,
only way it'll
actually,
survive.
so some of these articles are saying it's been in developments for 5 years.
What?
At that point, so it's now 6 years or seven, almost 7 years.
Oh my god, that's
Dude, what is the what? I mean, god damn, a game doesn't need to take that long to make, man. You know, that's the other thing. It's like shit or get off the pot, Blizzard. You don't need to make Diablo 4 for fucking 8 years, you know, and completely change the whole game mid development. It's like stop doing that shit, you know?
yeah. I just think I don't know who has it worse, the gamers with their expectations or the developers with the expectation what the gamers have. And
Yeah.
it's just taking a toll on both parties at this point. I think everybody needs to like gear everything back. I mean, when I heard that Rockstar almost had like $1 billion budget for a game, I was like, do do we think this is too far?
Yes.
You know,
What does $1 billion even buy you in a game?
I, I don't
Making a
fucking
game.
know.
I don't know. It's gonna be it's gonna be insanity. You're gonna have some of the most ridiculous celebrities voice acting that game, probably.
Yeah, and I love Grand Theft Auto 5, the story mode at least. I love the single player. Like I think that was probably the best Grand Theft Auto I played besides San Andreas. Because I always loved their single player content. I
Yeah,
I didn't play Red Dead, but I heard so many good things about Red Dead Redemption 2,
yeah,
as far as the details and everything like that. So I see where the money goes for Rockstar, but it's just like $1 billion, bro. I can't fucking imagine spending $1 billion on a game. That's insane to me. I don't know, but yeah,
that
I don't
is
know.
crazy. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, do you remember when the Star Wars MMO came out from
yeah.
Bioware?
What was the budget for that? Like 250 million.
350 million, remember?
Oh my
And it
fucking
was all in the voice acting. Like all that money went into the voice acting, and the voice acting was incredible.
yeah, it was.
The primary story in that game was awesome. Like awesome for every class. For the classes, like it was super fucking good. But then you got to endgame and there was nothing to do. The game just ended. Like there was nothing, there was no endgame content at all. And yeah, it was you know, it's like I just money can't buy you everything with video games. You have to have a plan, you know, and you got to have a way to get there too. And I think that's what Blizzard didn't have with this game. That's clear from this interview is that they even said it that they didn't know what the end point was with the development of the single player or the PVE mode or whatever story campaign, whatever you want to call it. They didn't have an end point in sight, so that's why they ended up canceling it. Ultimately, they continued making it and continued making it and continued making it. And it didn't have an end point. It's like, dude, how the fuck did you start making this game and you spent 4 years or 3 years on it and you don't know what your end point is? Like, what your fucking even goal is? It's like, I don't know. Just crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy shit. But all right, we've been talking about that enough. Let's move on, Montrell, to our next story. I'm sure we'll have more to say about Blizzard in the coming weeks as Diablo 4
Yeah.
comes out. Um, all right. So Amazon Games
Hmm.
announced that they are working on. Well, sorry, we've already known about the Lord of the Rings MMO. However, there
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
quote that came out from one of the developers, the president actually of Amazon Games. He said in an interview with IGN that this new Lord of the Rings MMO is aimed at everyone, not just MMO fans. The game by itself, needs to be so good that everyone wants to play it. What do you think about that? Do you think this game should be for everyone?
For
Do you think
everyone?
every game should be for everyone? Is that as a
No,
concept?
I think that's how we had. I call it the gaming blunders of, or the gaming drought of 2008 to like 2011 ish, 12 ish,
Yeah.
where a lot of those games were like that's where games became super casual because they fell into that mantra of like everybody. We want the game to be for everybody, where a lot of games lost their identity.
Yeah.
So no, I
Yeah.
don't think a game should be for everyone.
Hmm.
I mean, you have rare games like Fortnite that's literally for everybody, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but no, I don't think. I think you should go for your target audience, and then if you want to branch out after that, then try it.
Yeah.
But you can do MMOs for everyone, but still target the MMO crowd. Um,
Hmm.
it's hard to do, but like Final Fantasy 4, I said in the chats, like Final Fantasy 14 was one of those. Even WoW kind of adjusted themselves to be that,
Hmm.
um, in a way. So it's like it's doable, but you have to do it in the context of an MMO. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because you got to have your grinders, you got to have your whales,
Yeah.
um, as well as your casual audience as well.
Yeah. So I felt like I was in 2008 reading this article because some of the words he says here, we want we want this game to have mass market appeal. And I'm like, did this guy was this guy not around in the aughts after World of Warcraft came out? Because every MMO that came out in that period of time was saying the same shit, bro. And they all failed. They all failed. So what do you think 15 years later that makes your fucking Lord of the Rings MMO any fucking different? Like, I don't understand. Like, do you not have you not learned anything from the past? You know, I'm not saying that the MMO has to be fucking EverQuest, but goddamn, appealing to everyone is one of the largest scopes anything could fucking have. You know, it's a ridiculous thing to say about any product. I don't give a shit what it is, movie, game, television show, book, whatever, bro. Microwave, fucking oven, like like Jesus Christ. Everyone. The game is aimed at everyone, every human imaginable. Like your fucking grandma is gonna play this Lord of the Rings MMO. Like, fuck off. I can't stand this shit. This is that shit I was talking about the way game developers and publishers talk about their fucking games. Okay. This is hyperbole to the nth degree. All right. Your game's not appealing to everyone. You have a fucking audience. You're gonna have an audience, okay? And you need to like figure out what that is so you can make the fucking game they like. You can't make a game that everyone likes. It's not possible. So the fact that you're aiming for that means this game's going to be absolute dog shit. I'm telling you right now, this Lord of the Rings MMO is going to suck ass. Like, I have no positive expectations whatsoever just based on these comments because I've been through this song and dance as an MMO player, okay? There were dozens of these fucking games and they all came out after World of Warcraft and they all fucking suck dick one way or another, you know? So World of Warcraft is arguably the one that did appeal to everyone, and it fucking ruined itself because of that. It became a terrible video game that I fucking hate. You know, modern World of Warcraft is ass, like total fucking ass cheeks, because it's trying to appeal to everyone. It fell for its own trap. You know, ultimately
Yeah.
they fucking smelled their own shit and thought it smelled good. You know, they didn't realize what actually makes a good game. They lost sight of that ultimately, and here we are again, another company doing this shit all over again. It's like, dude, I don't get it. Am I wrong here? Like, am I off base? Like, this shit just seems so
I don't
asinine to
know.
me.
So the quote, I can take it as two ways, and this is where I was kind of pushing back on y'all in the chat too, because Lord of the Rings can be for everybody. Um, and I mean, it kind of should be for everybody. I mean, it's one of those IPs where I feel like a lot of people can get into it into different roles and everything of that nature. So maybe that's the way I was taking it. Like he realizes that Lord of the Rings is a huge franchise
Okay.
and it can be taken. We want it to
Yeah.
appeal to everybody. So as far as like maybe
Okay.
they do have the core
Yeah.
MMO aspects and everything like that, but they want the classes to be,
But it.
if I want to play as an elf,
Yeah.
or if I want to
Yeah.
play as one of the dwarves or the humans, I can do that, and it can appeal to that nature. Or it can be like you said too, where it's like we're just appealing to everybody and we have easy mechanics and there's no fucking raids, or if we do have a raid, there's an easy mode raid and all the other stuff like that, and you can grind through everything within like one fucking day or whatever. And you can pay to get the best gear and shit like that, or you can grind to get the gear, and it's like that's not a good thing to do. And I understand too, because uh I mean, I don't talk about it as much, but I did too go through all these Korean MMOs that came out that spawned after I like 2008 2010ish when I first built my computer. I got off the family computer, and I was just going through like MMOs and stuff like that, and trying to find the WoW, because I didn't want to play the subscription at the time. So because I was only in
Yeah.
college, and I'm trying to find all these different WoW games and everything like that, and I went through all these free to play and $5 subscription MMOs and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And yeah, it wasn't it. Ultimately, I came back to WoW. So until Final Fantasy 14 came out, um, and even that game had to go through a significant death and then rebirth uh to come back and do what it needs to do to survive. Um so I don't know. I just think it's a wild statement to say. It's not a wild statement to say, rather. I think it's a
Trap.
cautionary tale. Yeah, it's a trap, because you and I have been through this, and especially you, where that is gone through. But then there are other people who haven't been through this, and they don't know what it means. So yeah, 15 years
Yeah.
removed, you gotta
Yeah.
think like you gotta think of the fucking 18-year-old Lord of the Rings fan who was like 15 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So they don't know that this happened 15 years ago, and they're like, oh man, the Lord of
Yeah,
the
but
Rings game for
it's not about.
everybody. Like,
This isn't about that for me, dude. An IP appealing to everyone versus a video game appealing to everyone are like two very different things to me. This game is an
mhm,
MMO. MMO. Okay,
yeah,
that by its nature appeals to a very specific group of people,
it is a
and the
very
idea.
niche market to get into. Yes.
Yes. The idea that you think you're going to make the one that is going to break this genre open is laughable. And it was laughable 15 years ago, and it's fucking laughable now. It hasn't changed, okay? Just because WoW Classic is hot for a hot minute and FF14 is this big hot thing a couple years ago doesn't mean that MMOs are suddenly hot. They're not fucking hot, dude. Those games are hot, okay? There's a
Yeah.
difference. Like, this is where companies like fucking lose me, man. They like Amazon does no idea what they're doing in video games. It's so clear, like because the company making this, the team making this, is the one that made New World. And the fucking whole interview is about how they didn't have a plan for post launch content and that it ruined the game. And like, you're making an
Now,
MMO. What are you talking about?
yeah,
Like,
that
what?
is
Like,
wild to me.
what? So that
Yeah.
this game is destined to fail, like straight up. Like, I'm gonna use Jet's obsession, as an MMO fan, is a fucking perfect example. Okay, Pantheon. I forget the name of the studio making it, but go look this MMO up. Okay, guys, it is a it is a very specific type of MMO. It is trying to emulate that feeling that the original EverQuest created. It wants to be hyper immersive, grindy, group based MMO. Okay, that is a type of MMO that has been long dead and dormant in the genre. However, there is a group of people that yearn for that. So that's what they're trying to appeal to. And they've been making this game for like fucking 10 plus years at this point, but that's a different story. The point I want to make is I think when that game comes out, or if that game comes out, I do think it is going to be successful within the market it's trying to target. And I think that game is going to survive because it knows what it is, and they are making the game that appeals to the audience they're trying to target. When you don't target anything in the MMO space, no one's going to want to play your game because the hardcore aren't going to like your game because you're appealing to the casuals. The casuals aren't going to like your game because
Because you're too
you're fucking
hardcore.
yeah, there's going to be elements where you're trying to appeal to the hardcore, and it's like they're going to feel left out because there's content they can't do, Like, you can't hedge with this. Like, it doesn't work. We've seen it a million times. And Final Fantasy 14 pulled it off over 10 years, okay?
Yeah.
Of more
Yeah.
morphing their game into what it is now, okay? A game that does appeal to all types of people. But that is not because it set out to be that. It learned what it is, and they slowly but surely peeled the onion back and started making their game that it had so much content in it that it absolutely does appeal to everyone. But the only reason it pulls that off is because they've been working on it for so long. Okay, you're not going to launch an MMO like that. FF14 did not launch like that. Final Fantasy 14, like Montrell said, died. It was a dead game that they had to revive. And even the revived game did not appeal to everyone. It was a WoW clone when it came out. When Reborn came out, like when A Realm
Mhm.
Reborn launched, it was a fucking WoW clone. Like, and then it turned into something else. It became a unique game after that, So I can't like this I don't know. This whole thing, this fucking like I have no faith in this whatsoever. And yeah, I'm being really cynical, but it disappoints me because Lord of the Rings is an amazing IP for an MMO, you know? Like Lord of the Rings Online, as much as that game is goofy and has shitty combat, at least it was still an immersive game and respected the IP for the most part.
Yeah,
Um, I have no faith that Amazon's going to respect shit with this. You know, I like just the fact that they're saying they want it to appeal to everyone indicates to me that they don't respect. They're not going to respect it. You know, it's I don't know. It's just going to be another one of those stories. I could be wrong. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe they'll surprise me. But my until they can show it and they actually have something real, concrete that actually comes out and is not a disappointment. Um, I don't give them any credit for Lost Ark. Like they didn't make that game, you know, like that was made by like a team in Korea that they just happened to publish the game for, you know. So and even that game, as much as I do like it, it has its issues, you know. It's not
yeah.
perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, I don't know. I'm getting very passionate here, but a Lord of the Rings MMO is one of my favorite ideas of a game, of like one of the top things I would ever want to play. You know, like a really immersive, challenging, you know, like almost I don't want to say super grindy, but sort of grindy, you know? Like kind of in the middle ground, maybe between EverQuest and World of Warcraft, like vanilla World of Warcraft, somewhere in that realm, because it could be super fucking fun, you know. And I think a Lord of the Rings MMO that lets you embrace the dark side of the game of the this universe, where you can actually play as an orc or a goblin or something, um like actually make a character like that would be very cool, but
Yeah.
that's super ambitious. You're suddenly having to make content for two different sides of things, and that's difficult, you know. So I don't know,
Well, yeah.
but if you
I
want to
just
appeal to everyone, you got to do that kind of thing, probably.
I
So
just don't. I don't know how to say it. Like, I don't like the idea of announcing MMOs. Um,
yeah,
they just take so fucking long to make, and
yeah, I
then
know this
like
game's not coming out for at least like 5 years.
yeah, and then on top of that, like once they do come out, you have to make sure there's enough content because I think a lot of developers aren't understanding, and even gamers we're not understanding as well. That times are different as far as like the way people consume content. When WoW came out, you can take the game slowly. There were people who were like extra grindy in the game. I just don't feel like they had enough time to do that. I don't know how to say it. Like people had time, and there were those people who reached max level. I think it was 50 at the time when it first came out. Right, that was the max level, or was it 65?
For
Was
what?
50?
For World of
Wow,
War? Yeah, it was 60.
60. Um, and I'm pretty sure people did reach that. Some people reached that within a week or whatever, but that wasn't the common thing. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? When WoW
yeah,
came out,
right.
um, uh, and people were just exploring and doing other bullshit and everything like that. And they had a robust, not a robust, but had PvP and everything like that. And it was just a new thing. Um,
Yeah,
and I don't think people understand that that was a new thing. Now fast forward, 20 years later or whatever the case, 25 years later, and it's like, okay, Lord of the Rings coming out. And it's like you can release a game, but you can't say we didn't know we needed content because people consume content way differently. There are people who run through fucking games that are meant to be 60 hours, like fucking Assassin's Creed Odyssey, right? Me and you played that game fucking crazy when we
yeah,
zoomed out the map and it was just like, oh my God, what the fuck? And there are
yeah,
people who can get through that game in like a week, you
yeah.
know?
Right.
So like people consume the content differently, and when you're talking about an MMO to appeal to everybody, you have to make sure you have that content. I think that's the one biggest flaw that every game makes is just a lack of fucking content. And I don't mean like little fetch quests here and there. I'm talking about like actual like consuming content or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, And I just
Well,
I don't
yeah.
I don't want to see an IP like Lord of the Rings go into the IP of like Star Wars, because Star Wars to me is what Lord of the Rings is to you as far as like MMO. That should be a knockout. It should be a hit. It should be easy. It
Yeah,
should just be
dude.
fucking easy, bro.
So
Like
it's such an
Galaxies
obvious.
did it.
It's so
Yeah,
obvious. Yeah, right.
and Star Wars Galaxies did it, but I mean that MMO got shut down. But then we had Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which is even more open than the original, than where their original trilogy is at. So you can do even more crazy shit. And they did do that crazy shit, but then they just like, oh, we're gonna lack content though. And it's like, bro, do you know how big your do you not know who your audience is? These are people who play MMOs. Like these are the ones. And you're BioWare. Like you have that. So like with in respects to like we don't know Amazon's game record. I mean, they made New World or whatever the fuck. But it's like you're dealing with Lord of the Rings. That is the game. Every like MMO, every fantasy setting, everything. As far as high fantasy, I even say dark fantasy. All these fantasy games are like, this is my dad. Lord of the Rings is the dad of that shit.
Yeah.
And you have to get this shit right. You have to say the right shit. You have to appeal to the right type of gamers, because you have to appeal to, in my opinion, I would say MMOs are the only ones where you can do the opposite. You have to kind of appeal to the hardcore to get that like
I agree.
that normal
Why do you
the
think Final
normalcy.
Fantasy 14 still does it? Like they don't have you would think they don't have to appeal to that hardcore, but they still do it.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you think that? That's because they're the core of your audience. They're the ones that are your anchor, you know? They will be there when everyone else leaves, you know? You can't leave them behind the way Blizzard did. That's why World of Warcraft has festered over the last 10 years, because Blizzard decided that the hardcore were not important to their game. So we all left, and then their game fell apart. And
Yeah.
it's limped on for 10 years, you know. It has its little ebbs and flows, but it's not a big game anymore. It's not important. It's not in the conversation. Nobody cares about WoW. Like who fucking cares about WoW? So it's like but this is the other part about them saying they want to appeal to everyone that scares me with a game like this, because what makes a live service game like so popular consistently, keep up its popularity, right? Like Apex, Fortnite, you know, all these other live service games. What's the thing that keeps people coming back? It's the fucking moment to moment gameplay. Like no game is going to keep your attention if it sucks to play, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we
So
bitch about Apex every fucking week, but we're playing the fucking game again. You know.
absolutely, because the game is a fucking incredible. Like it
Yeah.
feels incredible to play.
Exactly.
Like it is optimized like the movement is just so goddamn good, you know? The gunplay is so goddamn good. It's smooth.
Yeah, you
So
hit that
that's the
king
thing
crack, it's
you
like
got to fucking nail. Like Final Fantasy 14, as much as, you know, Jet doesn't like the style of it or whatever, it feels fucking great to play it though. You
yes,
know,
it does.
that moment to moment gameplay is excellent. So good that I played it on console exclusively when we were playing it, you know, with the group. And all of you were like, dude, how the fuck are you playing this on console? And I'm trying to tell you guys that y'all are missing out. Like, this is the way to play this game, where I can sit on my couch, laying down, not giving a fuck, and I'm fucking doing as much damage as you are, you know, on your stupid keyboard and mouse. You know, you get your fucking back arched, you know, like a goddamn gremlin. Um, you know, so that's what they have to nail though, is the gameplay. You know, that's what Lotro did not nail, is that moment to moment gameplay is not fun. You know, the game
Yeah,
doesn't feel good. And that's why you didn't end up even wanting to play it, you know. This game has to nail that, and that's where it scares me when you say it appeals to everyone, because what that means, what that tends to translate to for games, is that they are easy to play, and easy to play is not deep, you know, generally speaking. And for a lot of people, especially MMO fans, not deep means completely not engaging at all, you know. Like if your game isn't deep as an MMO, then I'm out. I don't. Why am I gonna play it? I'm like, you know, like that's the whole point. The point of an MMO is to grind, build your character, have this deep, like statistical systems and character customization, and then seeing how that plays out in combat, and then having this combat that really like, um, you feel that power that you're gaining from the way you're building your character. You know, um, you don't have that, then you don't have an MMO. You know, it's just not going to work.
Yeah,
Just
no,
not
I,
any
I,
of them
I
will.
agree. I feel
But
like I said, this is. I mean, it took Destiny a while to understand that too. That they had to make their game hardcore. Like they had to, if that game wanted to survive.
yeah, and
And
they did.
people will come back for the casuals will come back for the content, whatever the case may be. And the hardcores, they will stay there. And I mean, they finally got it right with Destiny 2. I mean, they got all the little nerd shit in there like that we know, like they would like to do, and tweak out your character to do this and this little customization to do that, whatever. Unfortunately, it was just a little bit too late. It was too late for me because I started, doing Destiny. I love Destiny 1, but Destiny 2, it lost me because it was the lack of content. They
It was
didn't
too much of a reset. Yeah, that was the
yeah,
problem with Destiny
it was
2.
too much of a reset. And even if it was a reset for me, I would have stayed because the gunplay is just so good. It was
Yeah,
just the lack of content. Like it was just wasn't there. And I don't understand. They even got it wrong. Like from their first
and they
game.
already made one.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know,
You
they
know?
already made one. You'd think they would get it right.
Yeah. And it's just one of
Yeah,
those things, man, where I think MMOs and MMO lights and games like that, like these live servers like loot games, they have to appeal to the hardcore. I think that's another reason why like games like Borderlands, they didn't under that game to me is a prime example of a game of a company that does not understand its fucking audience at all. They thought it was all about the guns and the wacky guns and all that stuff like that. And it was like, yeah, that's part of it, but the builds I can do, bro. Like I can
yeah,
build zero in three different ways. Like
yep.
that was fucking fun to people. Like I don't know.
And then they made a game where it's like just it was just all about the guns you got, and it was just
Yep.
I don't know, it was terrible. And they didn't get their own story either. You know, like that was I don't know. Yeah, I've never seen a company like fuck their own franchise up so hard. But yeah, so I don't
Well,
know.
yeah.
I mean, we'll see what happens when this comes out. Obviously, we'll be paying attention to it. I mean, both of us are interested. We're both MMO players, so and Lord of the Rings is awesome. So if you did it right, it could be a great game that has a very large appeal. But um, I think companies just continue to fall for this trap of appealing to the masses. You know, and I don't know why no one can learn lessons from some of these games. You know, it's like Dark Souls or Elden Ring. Elden Ring is not trying to appeal to everyone, and yet somehow it did.
It's because
Why do you think that is?
they stayed in their fucking lane.
Yeah,
They
they
did
made the
what they know
best
how to do.
game they could make in the lane they were in, you know?
And you know what? That's why I'm not worried about fucking Armor Core because I know it's gonna turn people off. I know it is because it's not Gundam. It's not any other type of game. It's a
Yeah.
fucking hardcore ass fucking mech game. And when people realize, the stuff that you have to go through, I can lose my mech in a fight. I gotta pay for this shit. Oh my fucking god! Not pay
Yeah.
physical money, y'all, but like in-game currency that you earn
Yeah.
from missions. I gotta pay for this shit. Like it's not gonna be a lot of fun for people. But that's the thing. It's like not designed for y'all. It's designed for people who like that type of shit. And I respect games that do that. Like they're like, we know our audience.
Absolutely. You know what you are, right?
Yeah.
Like you know what you are, and you also know who got you where you are. You know, this is my problem with a lot of these companies, and I don't give a shit about Amazon in this case. That
Yeah.
doesn't apply to them because they're nobody in games right now. But you know, I'm thinking about Blizzard though, or like Blizzard, for instance. You know, it's like forgetting who got you where you are. You know, like Blizzard. This is the reason Blizzard has become so divisive, and so many people hate Blizzard is because they forgot they not even necessarily forgot
They turn
discarded.
their
I would
yeah, I
say
would say
is
they turn their
more accurate.
backs.
Totally turned their backs on the fans that got them the success that they had. You know, where they became such a big name that they merged with Activision, you know. Their name is in the fucking Activision name, you know, like that's how big Blizzard got. And they forgot all the people who got them there, you know, turned their backs on those people. And um they've been in turmoil ever since, to be frank. I think the last 10 or 15 years of Blizzard have been a disaster. And we've talked about it a few different times. I don't need to go over all that. If you want to fucking go listen to our first episode. There's a lot of detail in that episode about Blizzard's history. But you know, it's just such a easy mistake to make. And that's why I respect From Software as much as I don't necessarily resonate with their games entirely. I respect who they are because they want to be who they are. They're not trying to be somebody else. They're not trying to make $1 billion. That's not their fucking goal. They're not gonna sell their souls to the devil to make $1 billion. They're gonna make Elden Ring, and you're either gonna like it or you're not.
Yeah.
you know,
I
and
mean,
everybody
like
fucking liked it. So what the
that's
fuck?
a
Like,
great example because
yeah,
how many articles were written about Dark Souls 1 and 2
yeah,
for easy mode, for accessibility mode, or whatever
yeah,
the fuck, you know? And
yeah,
then to have the balls to release Sekiro, that's nothing like Dark Souls or Demon Souls at all. That's
yeah, man.
that's like we don't even give a fuck
It's
about
like even
builds.
further from the spectrum of easy
Yeah,
mode because there's no
exactly.
easy mode in Sekiro. You can either do it or you can't.
Exactly.
There's no way to easy mode that game. You cannot brute force Sekiro in any way.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. You have to learn that game.
yeah,
And then you can break it once you learn it. But it's
yeah,
like you have to learn that and you have to respect it. And it still sells and gets game of the year that year. Like
yeah.
that's because people respect what you know, or people respect trying to be what you want, what you supposed to be. And then you have games like I'll even say like Halo, for instance. Like Halo 4, it came out with loadouts and all this bullshit and hit markers when you hit people, and we're like, what the fuck is this? Is this Call of Duty? Like, am I playing Call of Duty now? Like, it had aim down sights and shit, and people were like, what the fuck is this? This is not my Halo. Like, know who you are and know who your audiences are. And I,
Inbound
you,
sites. Yeah, Halo never had that. That's so
yeah,
funny to think about. That's crazy, dude.
yeah,
Yeah, man.
it's absolutely insane.
It's like the anti-shooter. It didn't have sprint. Like it didn't have ADS. Like, yeah, that's crazy, man.
And then they added all
So
that stuff, and people are like, and then the game just went out even
it's
further.
just like everything else.
Yeah, and then you know what? As much as I shit on Call of Duty, they know their fucking audience. They're like, they want this octane, fast
Yeah.
bullshit Twitch
Uh-huh.
shooter type shit. We're gonna give it to them. We're gonna give it to them every fucking year, and that's why every fucking year that game's on the top of the leaderboards because you know why? They know their fucking audience. Like everybody knows how to play Call of
Yeah.
Duty.
And you know who else knows their audience? EA, because they make the same Madden game every year, and y'all motherfuckers keep buying it.
I mean, it's true. I
They've
mean,
stayed in their lane. Mutt baby, let's go. Give me them packs,
fucking
boy.
Look
Wanna
at
open
2K
them fucking
stayed in
Madden
their
packs.
lane. They didn't try anything different. You know, I mean they tried a couple of things different. But like 2K knows who their audience is at, who their audience is. And as much as I
Mhm.
want like, you know, Madden to evolve and everything like that, I mean, if the player base ain't speaking with their wallets, then why try to change it at all?
Right.
So I don't know, like oh, you know, it's another a prime good example. Anime games, especially the Ninja Storm series and everything like that. They know their fucking audience. They know their
They
audience is
do.
terrible at
They
video games.
do. And we hate them. We hate them here on this show. Don't you get us wrong. We hate these motherfucking games. But damn, do they know their audience? Because that shit sells.
Yeah, and I feel like MMOs are
Jump
the only
Force.
yeah,
Remember that
MMOs are the
game?
only
Oh wait, you
ones.
can't play it anymore because it shut down after a year, despite selling like 10 million copies or whatever it fucking was. God, that's still so absurd to me.
Yeah, and I feel like MMOs are the only people, or MMO lights or whatever. When you try to get into this genre, they're like the only people that don't know their audience. Like they
Mhm.
don't know how grindy their audience is, and it's just amazing to me that
Well, no, it's companies that like come into this genre that don't make MMOs. Like they made New World and didn't know what like they didn't they didn't know you needed post launch content. What are you
but
talking
that's
about,
I
bro?
just don't feel like that's a good enough excuse because we
Like
have
what
literally 30.
vacuum are you in that
Yeah,
you're like? Are you in a black hole, like another dimension? Like
we have
you don't
30
you
years of video games that tell you what you need. That made a
fucking for
blueprint.
real. How many people worked on that game? 200? 200, and not one of these motherfuckers, not one of these motherfuckers has ever played an MMO before, like, and knows how this shit's supposed to go. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
No
it
post launch content.
I don't
What?
know. So I mean that's pretty much all I had to say. I mean we're
Yeah,
reaching 2 hours now, but like
I know. I just been
yeah,
screaming for like 45 minutes straight. So we
but
should
I don't
probably exit.
yeah. But yeah, I think for MMOs, that's I know we're just talking about casualization and everything like that, and sweats and everything at the beginning of the show. MMOs is the one genre, and even like ARPGs, MMOs, grindy
Yeah.
ass games like
Yep.
Destiny and
Yep.
everything. Those games they need hardcore mechanics.
You need the sweats.
You need the
The
sweats in
sweats
those games.
are the audience, okay? Like MMO players by their nature are sweaty. Like that's what we are. We'll sit here killing boars for 4 hours straight to get a fucking drop. Like that's the epitome of sweat, baby. Like that's what
we
we'll do.
we have friends that will log into a lobby, go kill Andy, or I guess that's the boss name. That's the
And
short
Dario is the name in
Dario.
D2.
Okay, and
Yeah.
Dario on fucking D2.
Yeah.
While we're in queue for a game, they'll go kill her and then come back and be like, all right, we can play a game. And then they'll go right back and do it again, killing Dario and come back right back. And it's like that's but they love it. So I mean, I think I don't know. I don't know what these developers doing. I understand they make a whole bunch of money and everything, but at the same time, y'all gotta learn your audience, man.
I don't. A lot of them. I don't think they play games. And if they
I
do,
don't.
it's not the shit they're making.
Yeah, yeah,
They play like Candy Crush on their phone or something, and they're like, "I'm a gamer." It's like, no, you're
yeah.
not, bro. Like,
Because
Soccer Mom X isn't gonna play your Lord of the Rings MMO. You know,
the
like,
amount of developers that complain, especially like I noticed it from like no offense, but like Sony developers as well. No
mm-hmm,
offense to everybody who's a fan of Sony. They've been shitting or they like throw shade at like a lot of Japanese games, especially like the Dark Souls type shit.
mm-hmm,
Like they throw a lot of shade at those games, like a lot of shade.
yeah.
Um, and the industry as a whole throws a lot of shade. Like the whole, I like the accessibility options of video games. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like that only spawned because people were bitching about Dark Souls so much, and it's just weird that whole
Well, I think
dichotomy.
you're losing. I think that whole conversation just loses the whole plot of what like what games are. They are creations made by people. Okay, the creator of anything is the arbiter of what goes in and doesn't into their creation. You know,
Mhm.
if and we've talked about this a lot on this show as well with Dark Souls specifically. If FromSoft decides that they don't want an easy mode in their game, they get to make that decision. No one should have any right to judge them for that. And we feel on this show that they are justified in not putting an easy mode in their game because those games are extremely tightly balanced, very balanced in a very specific way to have a very specific experience. And um, you put an easy mode in, and suddenly you have to change the way you've designed the game because you can't tightly balance it anymore. You need to balance it for two difficulties instead of just one. You know, and that's going to change things ultimately because items now need to work on both difficulties. They need to scale on both difficulties. And you have to test that and play that and see how it feels. And does your game the atmosphere, the feeling you were trying to evoke from your game, do you get that same feeling on the lower difficulty versus the normal difficulty? The answer is often no, because I play a lot of games on higher difficulties because I like challenge in my games. And there's nothing wrong with not liking challenge. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is games feel different when they are harder. They feel different to play. Like it's a different experience. You playing Star Wars Jedi Survivor on easy versus me playing it on hard, we're playing two totally different games, bro. Like they're totally different games. They're going to feel completely different. You on easy, you don't have to block. You can just run at things and fucking swing your lightsaber and do whatever the fuck you want. Me on
Mhm.
hard, I can't do that, bro. I got to dodge. I got to block. I have to invest in my skill tree and learn my combos. Like it's a totally different game as a result, you know. And I
Yeah,
think the idea that people don't get that, like when it comes to Dark Souls, I just don't understand it, and I don't understand how game developers don't get that. Like they make games, you know, like you make games. How do you
that's
not get that?
that's the problem. They don't play the games.
No, they don't. I don't think they do. Yeah.
Yeah,
They probably
like
never played Dark Souls.
I respect the chef because the chef has to eat it. Yeah, he has to eat what he cooks or eat what she cooks or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Um, but even sometimes the chef forgets what the casual eats. You know, they don't get the plate. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Or whatever the case may be. The art of the plate. They don't understand how to eat what is being laid out in front of them, or whatever the case may be. And sometimes you have to lay that shit out. Uh, in movies, the same way. You know, sometimes people who make movies don't really watch movies, or they do watch movies to an astronomical degree. But the best ones are the ones who can watch movies and then make movies, and then like, oh, I see what they were trying to do. They like, if you ever hear like what's his fuss Quentin Tarantino talk. He talks about a wide array of movies, anime, fucking TV shows, that
mm,
books that inspired him and everything like that. And it's all shit that everybody else has read, or you know, have probably read or didn't probably read, or whatever the case may be, to go
mm,
into his movies. Even the best video games and stuff like that, they're always drawing inspiration out from like stuff that a casual person, or you know, other people experience. The problem with, like, I think a lot of developers, and particularly Western developers, is they don't pull inspiration from other things, or they pull too much inspiration from other things, and don't make informed decisions on when they play these games, and they don't quality test these games. They don't play the games themselves. Because like back in the day, Bungie used to play their own games. I don't know about Bungie now, but I know back in the day they had developer diaries, how they played the game. They're like, this is not fun. We're not going to put this in here. And you know what? It wasn't fun, and they didn't put it in there, and it was for a good reason, or whatever.
mm,
Like, I implore everybody, it's still on YouTube at 480p or 360p. Watch the developer diaries of the Halo 2 and Halo 3. Amazing if you want to be a game developer, because they just talk about having fun and how much they played their own game before the game came out. And I feel like
mm.
developers don't do that nowadays. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. It's fair. I mean, yeah, it's just I don't know. I mean, whatever. We don't need to beat the dead horse that is the dead Dark Souls easy mode conversation. I mean,
Yeah,
I feel like Elden Ring ended that debate.
it
I
did.
hope it did because
No,
nobody
it
talked about that shit.
no, yeah, it definitely ended it, in my opinion, because everybody plays that game, and then there are people who will bitch about it, and they're just like, all right, play another game then. Like, we don't really fucking care at this point. Just play another fucking game. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you know, just
Well,
play a
also
game.
that game was designed in such a way that you can walk away from something and go level up and come back and then you can kill it.
And to me, that was their philosophy behind easy mode. That was a good solution to easy mode right there.
It's
Oh,
built
you
into the game. Yeah.
it's built
Right.
into the game. If you can't beat this boss, grind, walk around, find a powerful weapon, get your soul level up, and then fight it again. You can probably one shot the boss now, you know? So, yeah.
But you can go to it early and bash your head against the wall for 3 hours if you want.
Yep.
Options there to you. So, all right, fair enough, Montrell. Let's get the fuck out of here.
All
I need to
right.
go to sleep in like 2.5 hours probably. So, I want to play some League tonight. All right. So, if you like this episode, please like the show, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you're listening to it on. And please share it with your friends. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at ThunderNut01, and the show is at The Player's Take. If you want to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. And that is going to be it for us, guys, this week. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next week. Bye.